Greetings. I have not done one of these electrical vehicle tracker videos for 6 months because 6 months ago I saw the best contrarian indicator possible, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But now that we are in the second half of 2023, we revert back to my Atom Award of the Month, December 2018 article, only 4.5 years ago. And all the predictions throughout have turned out to be correct, more or less. This exponential battery improvement leading to rapid gains in EV adoption, particularly from that time when in late 2018, again, just 4.5 years ago, only 2% of US new vehicle sales and 3% of new vehicle sales worldwide were electrical vehicles. Now we are at a much higher number and are very close to that tipping point that I have mentioned. You can read this article for a set of predictions around there, including how the transition of commercial and government vehicles to electrical vehicles in the US is the necessary phase before there is mass consumer adoption of EVs due to a lot of ideological resistance to electrical vehicles in the US. And 6 months ago, I noticed how there was this cover story at National Review, which is a major publication for the US right for conservatism, and has an average age of readership of about 75. And their cover story was the false promise of electrical vehicles. And they made all the same points that they could have made in 2003. Now, had they written this article in 2003, they could be excused from not being able to predict about exponential technology because that's not their field. But they wrote this article in 2023 and committed all the usual sins, assuming that the United States is the only country in the world and that the fact that an internal combustion engine is in fact better if you need to drive 400 miles in a single day somehow means that the internal combustion engine is always better, as if you are going to drive 400 miles a day often. For a few people, internal combustion engines are better, but that is becoming a shrinking portion of the market. So watch that video if you are interested in seeing how that magazine cover was a very good contrarian indicator, as I predicted then, and now 6 months on, we'll see how EV sales are continuing to track. So we go to this article from Inside EVs. Global EV sales in June 2023, over 1.26 million plug-in cars sold. So that's fully battery electric vehicles as well as plug-in hybrid vehicles. And over here we can look at market share. Battery electric vehicles are 13% share, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles are 6% share, and the grand total is 19% market share. 19% of new car sales are now electric vehicles, and substantially electric vehicles, not just like a Toyota Prius, but either a fully battery electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. 19%. Versus 3% in December of 2018, 4.5 years ago. And to look at the data with more granularity, this is the chart from that article. And this chart is complicated to read if you're seeing it for the first time. Each of the colors represents a certain calendar year, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. And then you have the months corresponding to each calendar year in order to smooth out seasonality, but these are worldwide totals, so seasonality is perhaps not that large of a factor. And red is 2023, whereas white is 2018. And in 2018, you could see that even hitting 100,000 units sold in a given month was a big deal. In late 2017 and early 2018, which is the earliest period in this chart, 100,000 a month was a pretty major event that so many EVs were selling, and they were 2% of all new cars sold. But now in 2023, 1 million a month is pretty common. This is now the third month in which 1 million has been exceeded in a given month, and pretty soon it'll never be below 1 million again. It will be hitting higher and higher numbers because it's now 19% share. So this 10x growth over 5 years, as you can compare white to red if you want, is huge, and that means this tipping point has occurred. EVs are a mature technology that is successful and is improving exponentially. Now this percentage is going to plateau at 30 to 40% and then increase only slowly from there, because remember, this is a percentage, so it just can't keep rising forever. But I'm satisfied with 30 to 40% because that type of bifurcation in the market means that various niches are being addressed more precisely. And internal combustion engines are not standing still. They are improving as well because electrical vehicles are forcing them to improve. And last of all, remember the other all-important point. Electrical vehicles are not even the highest order disruption. Telepresence, telework, and working from home is the higher order disruption because that involves no driving and no spending of time. And that is also slowing electrical vehicle growth from above because the type of people who are more inclined to purchase an EV and perhaps can afford an EV are also the types of people who perhaps can do their jobs and other professional activities over Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So EV sales growth is being suppressed even from above because of this telework revolution. But nonetheless, this represents a very rapid technological disruption, and that is why Tesla's market cap is again 1 trillion. If we go back to that article and scroll down to look at the brands, BYD is a company that doesn't sell much in the US. I've never seen a car of theirs. Is 240,000 of the units sold this month, but Tesla is number 2 at 211,000, and the average price of a Tesla car is much more expensive than BYD, so revenue-wise it is very high, and that is why Tesla's market cap is $1 trillion again. It will crisscross $1 trillion still, but now it's been at that level for a high enough time that it is solidifying its position there, and even if another car manufacturer were to overtake Tesla, that is the market cap associated with these EV companies collectively. So the market cap of the sector might yet rise, if you want to think of it that way. And the variety of disruptions that manifest as a chain reaction of this are many. The number of gasoline stations will continue to shrink. That also frees up a lot of land because gasoline stations are in high demand locations at intersections of major streets and so forth. The disappearance of gasoline consumption also is a negative suppressant on the price of oil, which then leads to more deflation because 15% of all oil consumption is just in the extraction, transportation, and refinement of oil into its end products. That's why the oil economy is obsolete in certain ways because of those types of inefficiencies. The electricity economy is much more decentralized and is far less dependent on import-export dynamics like the oil economy was. It was a strange situation that for half a century the entire world was dependent on a few oil exporters and had to tolerate bad behavior from a lot of those exporters. Much less so now. So this chain reaction of disruptions has many secondary and tertiary effects. Something to think about, but in doing this EV sales update video, I wanted everyone to be reassured that these disruptions are continuing apace. It's just that now there are so many disruptions that this is not even the most exciting one to talk about. Partly because it's not the highest order disruption like I described, but also partly because it is already a done deal in terms of the normalization of the technology, contrary to what some magazines might claim as their cover story. Now, if you like this type of content, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, and thank you very much for watching.